So many of our favorites to watch. Oh look, now they're being bashed. I guess that's what we should expect on the Bullied Nostalgia Podcast. Hello everyone, and welcome to Bullied Nostalgia. We're back with our last episode of the season where we don't talk about things that we loved as a child and my kids make fun of them, but instead we look at what this year has been and have a fun round table where we chat about stuff and have a good time. If you do want a say on the future of this podcast or want to give any input, feel free to email us at bulliedpod@gmail.com.
Dad, I'm joined by...
Oh, yeah. I guess I'm not by myself. I'm here with John.
Hello.
Chance.
Howdy, folks.
Kylan.
Praise Beethoven.
That's why you wanted me to say it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And I'm Tim. Well, I was going to talk about Praise Beethoven later, but it's a good line.
Yep.
Probably the first time Kai's been the first one to say it.
That's not true. That's not true.
One podcast where it was literally the first thing out of his mouth.
No, that was Tim, and I can reference the
Yeah,
episode.
no, that did happen.
It's
But I did
very
it twice.
detailed note.
I did it twice.
I know. I do appreciate these episode recap thingy-majigs because I feel like they're kind of meta in a way. It's like we have nostalgia for having recorded Bullied Nostalgia episodes, and now we're bullying that.
We should critique one of our episodes one of these days.
Well, I think that's kind of what this is.
This season has been a very wide net of different experiences for me. Not only did we have guests throughout the season, but also this remote recording situation has been a bit of a learning experience too. Obviously, from the technology standpoint, some of the audio on some episodes are all over the place, and I'm doing what I can to try and mitigate those issues. Whether it was when we had 5 people recording together, sometimes you can't hear everyone super well, or recording remotely, it is a lot of technical stuff that makes some of the episodes bigger challenges than last season. I also feel that recording remotely is a little less personal. Do you guys feel that?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
In terms of us just meshing with each other or connecting in conversation?
Yeah, our banter. My favorite episodes are the ones where we're all in the same room because I just feel like it's more natural conversation.
Yeah, I think poking fun at one of you and teasing you, getting to see your reaction, I get more joy out of that.
A couple things that are different on the back end of this season too is that I've been cutting the episodes longer. Last year, I was trying to get them all to be 30-some minutes.
I did notice that while I was rewatching some of them.
I was trying to be as efficient as possible. No, I'm just like, whatever. If people want to listen to us, they can listen to us for an extra 10 minutes.
So, the thing that I think we've all been waiting for, and the audience probably, where does Descendants stand in view count?
I don't know if we want to talk about that right now. John sent us
The schedule.
with a schedule.
I don't read the
I
text
mean, we don't have to
messages.
follow my...
So we'll save that for later. Just talking about season 1 and 2 in general, I think that the podcast is in a pretty healthy place. We've had a few thousand listens at this point, and YouTube and Google's dissolving of Google Podcasts and all that stuff is all frustrating from a back-end perspective, but it just means that when you go to one of our YouTube videos, that the view counts mean nothing because there's been multiple copies of all of those videos. And so there's been technical challenges, but overall, I think the podcast is in a good space.
I'm not sure if there are certain traditions we wanted to carry forward from the first season recap. For instance, last season, during the recap, we listened to Chance take medicine.
Go, Chance, go!
And that lasted for a good 3 minutes.
How are you feeling,
I think
Chance?
the spiritual successor this season was Kylan's cat
Yep.
catching a mouse. Also, in the recap of season 1, both Tim and Kylan said they were totally on board for more Land Before Time episodes.
John, that was before season 2.
I like to remind you that that's what you said, so maybe that'll carry forward into this episode. And then the last thing was that I got to talk about a reality show I was watching last time. So,
John, you want to talk
An
about your new
honored
show?
tradition?
You want to
yes,
talk about
I
your
want
new
to
show?
talk about.
Love is Blind.
No,
it's
that's
new.
so loud. So, do people want to hear about it?
No, not personally.
We'll save that for later.
When's later?
You wrote the schedule, John. You tell us.
This season, we tried to do a handful of new things. And one of those things was that John and I took a swing at writing some new intro songs.
One of them kind of worked.
Yeah, so we added the repressed nostalgia for our Halloween episode. John swapped it into a minor key, and I sang it in a bit of a Dracula voice. And it came together really fast, just like the original theme song that we did. Now, in the Jumanji episode, John says if we were to attempt a third song, it would go really well. And what he's doing there is he's speaking to an inside joke that we did attempt a third song.
And it is so bad.
It is not very good.
It is very awful.
I'm
so
going to
he's gonna play
it
it for us.
I think the problem was that we did something fun with the initial song, and then we wanted to mix things up and change them for repressed nostalgia. And both of those went well, so we messed things up and we changed them even more. And you can only change something so many times before it's just not good.
Wishing we had our favorites to watch. Instead, we're forced to watch trash. I guess that's what we signed on for with the Bullied My Family podcast.
Genuinely awful.
It's so terrible.
Well, bullying doesn't feel good, so I don't know why it sounds good.
Yeah, that was supposed to be the intro for the Descendants episode.
In hindsight, we might have gotten more views from the Descendants episode.
Oh, yeah, shoot.
You don't think more people would have turned it off in the first 30 seconds? Okay. Let's talk about some of our favorite moments from this season.
Do we have favorite movies in our schedule? I want to hear what everyone's favorite episodes of the podcast were to record this season.
Cool.
I put that under observations.
Oh my goodness.
One of my favorite moments was how our episodes continue to affect later episodes in the season. In season 1, you have that through line where Chance accidentally brings up Dougal in Land Before Time 3, and then it comes back in Quest for Camelot, and then it comes full circle in the Dougal episode. In this one, I really like that Double Dragon is the root of both repressed nostalgia and the Bully My Family episodes that would come later. And something similar happened in Titan AE. John starts talking about different movies that we could do the podcast about, and then we have this weird idea that we should all just watch different movies and try and make something out of that. And the random movie generator picked Nanny McPhee. I really, really like the Titan AE episode. There's so many fun things about it. The heartbreaking piece for me is, for whatever reason, the audio in that episode
Does not sound good.
is the worst of all of our episodes.
Which is probably why it doesn't have very many views.
I also like, in that episode, thinking about how the Dredge are just the worst to have at Thanksgiving. And it's just a bunch of gossip queens.
No gossip at the table.
In the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle 2 episode, I think your terrible audio sound bites were something else, where you just, chime in with a terribly recorded audio bit from the movie.
It was really funny.
Perfectly timed for when we'd say certain things.
It was really funny when Chance was going on a rant of what he thought of the movie, and then Dad's just completely ruining the audio. Please, a moment to reflect.
I also really appreciate in the Land Before Time episode, you're trying to talk to your future self, and you're trying to be like, if Tim from the future listens to this episode, don't do another Land Before Time episode. And then I try and talk to your future version of yourself, and I'm like, no, Tim, you actually want it. And then Chance is like talking to his future version of himself, telling him to punch John.
You'll notice that I didn't bring that up in my favorite memories, John. Maybe because I don't like being gaslit.
I told John this earlier, but Double Dragon and Beethoven's Second were my favorite episodes by far.
Really? The ones we started with?
Ryan and Eric were consistently hilarious the entire way through, and it was just so much fun.
Okay. High praise.
High praise.
I do laugh every time that I hear Eric talk about the guy who plays a Bobo having a soul.
He's a real person.
That man has a life.
That one catches me off guard every time, which is pretty funny.
I only have one that comes from Mr. Eric. When Dad, you asked him if he enjoyed watching Double Dragon again. And he just said plainly, he's like, I don't remember doing drugs, but I must have in order to enjoy this movie. It was so out of left field, and it still makes me laugh a lot every time I hear it.
I like a lot of quotes from Boris and Natasha, because there's a lot of potato talk.
There is.
And my favorite one is when Chance says, if a potato was put to your head.
I do have a couple of quotes, and most of them are from Beethoven, surprisingly. I have at the very beginning, when I was doing the summary, and I was like, so Beethoven is out chasing girls. I had to yell out, Beethoven's a dog! I also really liked Beethoven, but it's the ring. Like, you pick up the phone and it's woof woof. What? Who is this?
From Odyssey Part 2, Chance said, Odyssey walked so Game of Thrones could run. And I think possibly the highlight of the season was in the Descendants episode, Kylan says, I don't think anyone said they liked this movie. We loved this movie.
So what I love about that comment is he says, you guys spoke over me. And if you listen to the first time he says, we don't like this movie.
It's very faint. I do say that.
He does say we love this movie, but we did talk over him. I want to give you some credit too, John. In Titan AE, it's not really a quote, but your Jawa impression was amazing.
Yeah, we're kind of upset that you didn't go back to it.
Yes.
In Titan AE, Kylan also says, set your ray guns to dentures.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
You've never heard people say that before? That's how we say hello in Southern BC.
So I would say in the first season, there was kind of one callback that was really well established. And by callback, I mean like we're referencing previous episodes. And that was from the first episode we did of the Odyssey, where we said, look out for weirdos. In season 2, we've actually collected quite a few. We have Praise Beethoven.
My favorite.
Ducky said by Spike.
Ducky!
The sun is shining, but the ice is slippery.
We're rotten.
Rotten to the core.
No, there's other ones that we've maybe tried to have happen or be a thing in really good lines, but they just haven't stuck the same as the rest.
I know, I'm a pretty big fan of something Dougal related. Dougal.
But I do understand that it's really important for Kai to say praise Beethoven each episode and be the first to say that. And it appeared in listening back to the episodes, no matter whenever someone said praise Beethoven, Kai gave the impression that he was just about to say it.
Yeah, I've been waiting all episode, every episode, John.
Well, it's whether you say it at the beginning or at the end, he's like, oh, I was about to say it the next second.
There is a recorded time where Chance says praise Beethoven and I yell it out at the exact same time. So it's really not that unbelievable.
Well, John's got a list here.
Just a quick review. Chance first says praise Beethoven in the Beethoven episode.
And then you hate it immediately.
I hate it, yeah. Then at the start of Boris and Natasha, Tim says it. In Jumanji episode, Tim says Beethoven, which reminds Kai to say praise Beethoven. In Alien's First Christmas, Tim says it first. In Descendants, Chance starts saying it, and then Kai rushes in to finish saying it. In Titan AE, Kylan legitimately says it for the first time with no prompting. And in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Chance says it first, and Kai says he's confused that he didn't get to say it. And Muppets Tonight, Chance said it before Kai, because Kai was looking at pictures of Muppet snails.
It's not my fault.
I think this means praise Beethoven is actually my bit, you guys.
I think...
Well, Chance did create it, so credit where credit is due.
Ongoing joke.
But Kai adopted it. What is it, Bane's line? You merely adopted the praise Beethoven.
I was born into it.
So as far as overarching themes that we've had in the show, one of the most common ones that's come up is Chance's narcolepsy. And sometimes that can be a good thing. Like the fact that he got to sleep through most of Land Before Time 4 is...
That's a good thing, yeah.
I've never been more jealous.
Scenario.
Yes, Chance slept during the Odyssey, Land Before Time 4, Titan AE, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2.
That's like a third of the show.
And somehow I got accused of always sleeping in the Jumanji episode. I only ever remember having a hard time staying awake during the Batman Forever episode.
Correct.
And the Dougal recording. And I'm pretty sure we did those both after midnight. Just setting the record straight.
Yeah, well, we did mine at 7 p.m. That's nap time.
So something I've been thinking about, I know this is a pet peeve of Kylan's, but after getting to sit with the Ninja Turtles episode a little bit, we've talked in the past about who has the same attributes of each of the turtles. And what's funny is I think that it's completely different in this podcast.
Yeah?
If you talk about the boring person who has to try and keep everything on track and organized for the podcast, I'm the Leonardo. If you talk about the one who's always doing research or critiquing the science in each of the episodes, it's Kylan. If you're talking about the person who gets defensive because they're being bullied and talks about hating being here, chances are Raphael. And then John's the wild card, unpredictable, goofy Michelangelo.
John, I don't know about you, but I like this way more.
Yeah, oh, this feels good.
Yeah! How does it feel to be Leonardo?
It sucks.
Yeah!
That was why I whipped out those sound bites in the Ninja Turtle episode, even before I knew I was the Leonardo of the group. I just wanted to be fun.
You want to be a Michelangelo, but it's my destiny.
You're pushing too much.
Wow. This new persona, you're just going to rub it in everybody's face, eh?
Now that you believe you're not Michelangelo, you're going to try and force that you are, which just makes you more of Leonardo.
That's fair. You saying like, come on guys, I want to have fun. That is a very Leonardo thing to say.
Wow.
You're complaining about how the rest of the turtles get to have fun?
I created this. Why are you guys now ganging up on me?
I'm just enjoying the moment. I get to be anything other than Raph.
So I have a big question for you guys. I was so tempted to start the episode with this question, but then John sent us his format, and so I've obliged. No checking your phones. One of the movies or TV shows that we watched this season has a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. It is not Jumanji.
Oh.
Jumanji is the third highest ranked thing that we watched this season.
This is tough.
What has a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes?
Land Before Time. No. Here's my 3 guesses. I feel like
You have 3 guesses.
well, I'm gonna narrow it down. I'm gonna narrow
I
it
have
down.
12 guesses.
I'm gonna narrow it down to 3, which I think it could be. I think it could be Odyssey, Descendants, and Muppets Tonight.
Okay.
I was gonna say my answers would be TMNT, The Shadow, and Odyssey, probably.
The thing about Rotten Tomatoes is it's based on the amount of people who review it. So sometimes with shows that are not well known, all you need is 1 or 2 people saying this was a good movie, and it'll get a high rating. I think that does increase the odds for something like Odyssey or Muppets Tonight, where not enough people would watch it to actually have a fair assessment of how good it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with Kai. Either those two or Descendants.
Because Descendants is
90%, obviously.
well, Descendants
Descendants
is
was well received, I think, critically.
Do you guys want to know?
Well, so do we need to pick a final guess, or are we good
Sure.
to pick our top 3s?
oh, if it's critically rated, critics suck at ranking children's TV shows. So what if it's Land Before Time?
What if it is? My life would be complete. No, I know that it's not Land Before Time.
Because I said in the episode that it's one of the most despised episodes of Land Before Time?
Yes. I don't know. Do you guys want to have to pick one?
I'm
gonna
gonna say
TMNT.
Muppets
What's that,
Tonight. Muppets Tonight is my guess.
Okay. I'm going to say... I feel like Odyssey was in our first season and Tim didn't bring that up. So why would he bring it up now in the second season? So I'm going to say Descendants.
Jumanji is a 51% on Rotten Tomatoes.
What?
Oh, that's way lower than I would have guessed.
Is that our third highest, did you say?
This season, that is the third highest.
Oh, good Lord almighty.
Odyssey was an interesting conversation. They need to hit the minimum number of reviews. And Odyssey does not have enough reviews on the site to be ranked. Chance's guess of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze, is a 36% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Really? Wow.
Kyle's guess of Muppets Tonight
Mm-hmm.
is the second highest rated show we did this season at 60%. The highest at 90% is Descendants.
I hate it here so much.
What, the Earth?
Yes.
Get me off of this planet!
How is that critically acclaimed a 9 out of 10?
I don't think you know how much cultural impact Descendants has.
Doesn't matter.
Kai,
An asteroid has cultural impact on the planet. Doesn't mean it's good for it.
I don't know many people who are rating asteroids 9 out of 10.
This is the worst
It's a
asteroid!
stupid thing to rate.
Would not recommend.
This kills people! Don't eat
Don't
it!
recommend. Would not go extinct again.
Kai and I were in Portland last weekend at a restaurant, and behind him, Descendants was playing in the restaurant 9 years after that movie came out.
It was crazy.
Okay, so moment of truth, Chance. This is your reckoning. We're going to talk about your ranking this season.
Mm-hmm.
Your ranking is meant to be how much of an experience you'll have watching one of these movies. And the further you go from 0, the more you would recommend that experience.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to treat negatives and positives the same because they're equally interesting of experiences. The only one you gave all season was Titan AE.
Really?
The 2s you gave were Descendants, Land Before Time, Aliens First Christmas, and The Shadow. Those are all created equal to you?
So, Chance, Land Before Time is more enjoyable than Titan AE?
Well,
Yes.
I'm going to read the rest of the scores. Here we go. The
Okay.
3s you gave were Ninja Turtles, Odyssey, and Muppets Tonight.
Yep.
And the 4s you gave were Beethoven, Double Dragon, Boris and Natasha, and Jumanji.
As much as I hate to say it, I understand that certain movies aren't created equally. I don't think The Shadow, Descendants, and all those are created equally. And I don't even think that Titan AE is a worse movie than some of those. At a certain point, a movie is guaranteed a negative spot. And at that situation, if your movie isn't terrible enough to be funny, it's just nothing. In comparison, all the 4s, the negative and positive 4s, I die on that hill that I 100% agree with those ratings.
Especially with the negatives, your ratings depend on your mood and previous experiences with those movies.
That is true. This is a personal rating, of course. This isn't objective. I'm a person scarred by Descendants, so I will hate everything Descendants.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the thing that I have the hardest time wrapping my head around is that Descendants, Land Before Time 4, and Aliens First Christmas are -2. Those
movies are not equal. No.
are not equal.
What are you saying?
I'm saying Aliens First Christmas is a work of art. Everyone knows it.
Well, here are some things.
Can we just not say anything bad about Land Before Time?
When it comes to Descendants, if I'm being objective, does not deserve a -2. But I am a very emotional man, as we've discussed, me being the Raphael. So Raphael says -2.
When I listen to the Descendants episode, I think about some of the arguments you made. Like, you couldn't enjoy the movie because the main characters' outfits were too distracting. They were too different from the rest of the cast. And, like, I've never heard you say that about Batman, but Batman wears a bat outfit and he fights thugs. Oh, I can't look at him talking to those thugs. His outfit's too distracting. All right, John, you hid your phone that had all of the ratings on it. What did you want to add?
Does it have my ratings?
It does.
I want to preface this. I stand by everything I have said in those ratings.
It's very consistent.
Exactly.
Here we go. For Beethoven, he said it's an all spices cookie, a spice rack.
Okay, I don't stand by that one. I do not stand by
You
that one.
redacted that real
I
quick.
take that back. That one was dumb.
In Double Dragon, he says it's the experience of making a cookie with friends. Great to make it with someone, but not to eat it.
Okay, once again, I don't stand by that one.
I stand by all my cookies.
Odyssey episode. It's a sugar cookie with no baking soda. It
Okay.
could have been good. You just have to eat it painfully and slowly now.
I do stand by that, but that is not what the ranking system is.
I don't stand by that one either.
That's not what the ranking system is anymore, though.
Land Before Time 4 is no cookie. It doesn't get any worse than this. Boris and Natasha, a cookie with the grenade at the center. Jumanji, a book which inspired a movie which inspired a monster cookie. Aliens First Christmas, a gingerbread cookie in a Zolonian oven that's burnt. The Shadow, there isn't a cookie. You're being brainwashed or hypnotized that there is one. The Shadow of a Cookie. Descendants, it's a love potion cookie because
from
you
Chance's
love
tears.
bullying Chance, and it requires his tears to make it.
Yep.
Titan AE, a cookie cutter of a dinosaur. Turtles 2, a cookie with an ice cube in it. And Muppets Tonight is a dark chocolate chip cookie. It's like you want to eat the cookie, but you want to wait around the dark chocolate because it's the bad stuff, but you want the good stuff. but it was soon corrected to be a raisin cookie, which makes more sense.
I will say that when you put Kylan's gibberish on display all at once, it is pretty amazing.
Yep.
I am going to say that Tim and I have the more boring of the ranking systems. We're both just kind of like, yeah, when do we watch it again?
Ugh, John, what a Leonardo, am I right?
Tell me whatever you want, man. I'm chill.
Just saying, in our ranking systems, we have 2 Leonardos, Chance's a Donatello, and I'm Michelangelo's.
A couple fun facts that I thought I'd throw in somewhere, conversation starters. Kai and I were watching a documentary about the toxic fallout of That 70s Show cast around Danny Masterson. And in the opening of the documentary, they say, Danny Masterson got his breakout role in Beethoven's Second. And Kai's like, oh, okay. And then they're like, and Mila Kunis had her first big role in Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves. He was like, what? I thought that was pretty funny because the chances of anyone talking about not only any of the movies that we do, but 2 of them.
They did not list any other movies in like the 10-minute gap before and after.
Yeah. Another thing, upon re-listening to Boris and Natasha, I got caught up in that thing about Weekend at Bernie's. For people who don't know, Weekend at Bernie's is a movie about a guy who dies, and then people pretending he's not dead and essentially puppeting his corpse. Boris and Natasha does that a number of years before Weekend at Bernie's came out. A lot of their humor seems derivative, but when you take a step back, you kind of realize this movie's old as dirt. A lot of it's stuff that hadn't been done until after. John, I have a very important question for you.
What's the reality TV show that I got into?
What's the reality TV show you got into, John?
The show is called The Trust. It's on Netflix, and the premise of the show is that X amount of people come to this house. They all share a large pot of money. They can all stay there and each walk away with a cut. However, they can vote each other off. And if they do, the less people that are there, the fewer people that have to split this large sum of money. And so there's all kinds of alliances and betrayal. It's so cool because there's actually progression and development of human beings in the show. Like you actually see them become different people by the end of the show.
Okay, John, how many times have you watched Aliens First Christmas since Christmas time?
It's not even Victoria Day yet. We started talking about it earlier, but just favorite episodes. I mean, I can just say that my 2 favorites and my least favorite.
Okay.
My 2 favorites are Land Before Time and The Descendants. And I found myself actually laughing out loud as I was listening to them, to the point where my wife would be unsure why I was laughing because I had headphones in. I think the reason why I enjoyed those episodes so much is because there was a certain amount of suffering that you all felt, or that Chance felt, in watching those movies.
Somebody needs to be bullied.
It's in the name.
And I feel a certain amount of satisfaction when other people are suffering.
John,
experience.
you know that this might reduce...
Not the person being bullied.
John, you know that this might reduce the fact that you are some people's favorite in this group, right?
Oh,
You're like now being all, oh yeah, I like it when
true
people
colors
feel pain.
coming out.
Yeah, John, I thought you were the fun guy who was just here to have a good time and like
I'm
the
actually
things.
Shredder.
Maybe for once I'll be my fiance's favorite person.
And what was your least favorite episode, John?
My least favorite episode was Jumanji. I felt like we were mostly just talking about a good movie. We weren't watching a movie to bully it, but to appreciate a classic. I don't think I really laughed once. And so just maybe actually kind of think, what is the point of our podcast? To watch movies from the past, or to specifically hone in on ones that we can make fun of or And maybe we won't know until we do the episode, but
I realized earlier I had said my favorites in Beethoven Second and Double Dragon, but I hadn't said my least favorite. Can you guess which that one was?
Also
It was Descendants,
Jumanji.
where I was the villain the entire time for hating a not good movie.
People say some really funny things when they're trying to be defensive. And so I think you being in the defensive role there was actually really funny. I'd say Descendants was my favorite.
I didn't have fun doing it. It sucked.
Yeah, but did you have fun listening to it?
No.
Really?
I did.
So I think, once again, this is Chance being overly defensive. I didn't like the podcast episode because everybody was wearing distracting outfits.
So I'm a little bit of everything. My favorite episodes of the season were Double Dragon and Descendants. I also really liked Titan AE. There was a lot of really funny stuff that happened in that episode. It breaks my heart that the audio is as poor as it is. And my least favorite episode is the same as yours, John, Jumanji. And I think I even knew that when we were recording it. I was very apologetic about the episode. I just think it's a mediocre movie at the end of the day. I know Chance adores it because it has Robin Williams, but I am able to say that there's a lot of movies that have actors that I like in them that aren't good movies. And
You don't like any good movies.
I don't like any good movies. I think it's a fine movie with really good actors and actresses in it. There's a reason why it's a 51 on Rotten Tomatoes. What happens with Rotten Tomatoes, for people who don't know, is it doesn't tell you how much people like a movie. It tells you how many people like a movie. The way the scoring works is if you give it at least a 65, you're considered liking it. If you give less than that, it's considered not liking it. So someone might give a movie 100%, but that is not worth anything more than the person who gave it a 70%. That's why Paddington 2 is the highest ranking movie of all time. It's not because everyone thinks it's the best movie of all time. It's because no one dislikes that movie. 90% of people like Descendants.
Yeah.
Do you guys know what our lowest reviewed movie was this year?
Land Before Time. Had to be.
Land Before Time does not have enough reviews to be listed.
Booyah, probably would have been 100%.
The audience score is 14%. No, our lowest rated movie this year with 12%.
Oh, can I guess?
Yep.
Horace and Natasha.
I
But-
think it's The Shadow.
Beethoven is the perfect movie, so
What is it, Tim?
Force and Natasha does not have enough reviews
That
to make
makes
the
sense.
cut. The lowest movie with 12% is Double Dragon.
oh yeah, that makes sense.
That checks out.
You love that movie, right,
Not a
Dad?
good
I
movie.
do love that movie. It's terrible, but
That
I
checks
love
out
that
too.
movie.
Did we want to talk about the viewership?
Chance made a pretty lofty statement in the Descendants episode where he said, I will watch every Descendants piece of media if the
I
Descendants...
did not say every piece
Yes,
of
you
media.
did.
You said,
I said every movie, not
no,
piece of
you
media.
did not specify movie. You can go back and listen to that episode again if you'd like.
Yeah, it might be recorded and on the internet.
I will watch all of the Descendants
Descendants
content if this episode gets twice as many listens as any of the previous ones. Chance, you will be happy to hear that it has not hit that milestone. The first episode of our podcast did unfortunately quite well when it first came out. My followers on YouTube did not know what they were clicking on, I think. As of now, Descendants has caught up to the first episode. So it'll be a little while before it doubles the first episode's viewership.
But the good news is is that Chance did not set a time limit.
That's true. I did also promise in that episode to attach a poll to it, asking people what they wanted to see episodes of. When I clicked on it about a week in, I was disheartened to see that Land Before Time was leading Descendants at a 3-to-1 ratio. So I closed that window and I said, I don't want to look at that ever again. However, by the time the poll closed, Descendants had not only caught up, it then had a 3-to-1 ratio against Land Before Time votes. So, I think that we need to watch Descendants 2. There's a ton of listeners out there that want to hear it. But I also, as much as it pains me to say this, have to acknowledge that there's a number of listeners out there that also want to hear another Land Before Time episode.
Well, I don't know about one more Land Before Time episode, but like all of the Land Before Time.
So we do have an idea. I guess spoiler alert. We're coming back for a season 3. We talked about it, and there's lots of change going on in everyone's lives, but we've all had a generally positive time, and so we're interested in taking another swing at it. We have some...
I appreciate that you said generally for the people like me.
That's right. I think our Rotten Tomatoes score would be 75% amongst creators of this podcast. That beats everything that we watched this season except Descendants, so pretty good.
Not as good as Descendants, the podcast.
We could rename it that.
Hi, I'm Tim, and we are not as good as Descendants.
We have some ideas about things that we'd like to do in the upcoming season. But I think the other thing that we're going to do is we're going to keep our ear to the ground. The seasons have been fairly malleable so far, where inspiration comes as we're recording about what the future episodes are going to be. So we'll be open to that, but we do have a set list. If you want to have an effect on what we watch throughout the season, though, like I said, it is up for debate. So feel free to email us at bulliedpod@gmail.com, and we'll see what happens. There are always going to be things that we can't foresee, and sometimes it's the algorithm. I do not think that Muppets Tonight is one of our better episodes, but
It's arguably fine.
it's not arguably fine. It is fine.
It's fine. Arguably.
Who's arguing?
Debatably.
Guy really wants to argue that Muppets Tonight is our best.
It's fine, I swear.
It's just fine. And honestly, I don't even think it's super indicative of the fun that we have on the podcast. But for whatever reason, it's caught in YouTube's algorithm.
Arguably.
Arguably.
I don't even know what case we're making anymore. Kai just
I don't
wants to
know.
argue anything that I say.
We're all arguably arguing whatever you're saying.
It, in the 3 weeks that it's been out, I think, has more listens than any other episode that we have ever done. So that's what people know us for, I guess.
You should not watch Muppets Tonight again, because we don't need it surpassing Superman 4, or else Descendants has a higher hurdle to reach.
No. Number one, it is already past Superman 4 by like 100 listens. And number two, Chance said doubles anything that we've made. He didn't say that we will make. So Muppets does not count against Descendants.
Sorry, is that to say Descendants had to double what Superman 4
Was?
was?
Or is? That's a good question.
Not like anyone's going back to watch Superman 4. But
Interesting. I need everybody to re-listen to that Descendants episode and come back and let me know what your verdict is, according to what he says.
I refuse. You cannot make me subject myself.
I might re-listen to it to about 5 more times.
Let's make a poll. Is it a moving goalpost, or is it what Superman 4 was?
Then everyone can re-listen and vote on the poll.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So
I hate it.
I already spoiled it by saying we're coming back next season. Does anybody have anything they want to add or anything they want to talk about next season?
We mentioned that a couple episodes had some hard-hitting guests.
Well, yeah, we tried to do Three Ninjas earlier in the season, and I think I talked about it in one of the episodes. So it's no secret that we want to try and make that right in season 3. The theme of season 2 in the beginning was to have a guest every episode. And we only ended up doing guests about half the time, especially with this long distance stuff that just becomes harder and harder to add another person. But we'll have guests when it makes sense in season 3. We've also talked about the random movie generator. We want to give that a try. I'm sure it's going to be a disaster, but I'm looking forward to it. And if the last 2 seasons have taught us anything, we'll have a Christmas movie, a Land Before Time movie. We'll do another repressed nostalgia. And episode 9 will be another dumpster movie. Hopefully Descendants 2.
For context, viewers, we are all smiling, and Chance is in a weird, grimace state. He's staring at a wall right now.
Thinking to myself, I'm getting married this summer. So there are going to be days when I will be sitting in my office watching Descendants 2. And my wife comes in and asks me, what am I doing? I don't think I have an answer for her anymore.
There's a lot about that sentence I feel like is just begging for me to joke about. Like, he said that there will be days, as in plural, as in he's planning to watch it multiple times. And at that case, I wouldn't know how to answer your wife either. Be like,
what are you doing?
I had to watch this once for a podcast, but then I decided to keep watching it every day.
Tim, I couldn't help but notice what you're wearing. Yeah, would that happen to be a Bullied Nostalgia t-shirt? Tim moving around, that was the fabric.
Was I cross-country skiing?
Yeah, so can we expect more Bullied Nostalgia merch next season?
I don't know, you guys bought me this, so...
And our episode's going to be even longer, like add 6 3-hour episodes.
Our episodes are longer than the movies we're talking about.
Deep dive into Descendants 4.
Ooh, Chance.
No, if
Descendants.
anything, that's despair-ridden.
Rise of Red comes out this summer.
I'm so excited.
Right before your wedding.
In July. And
right before his wedding?
Dropped
What day does it come out?
the 12th, I think. So we could probably watch it the week of your wedding.
No!
Yeah. It could be like your preparation for being
final
married.
night as a single man.
Yeah.
Bachelor party.
Oh my gosh, I'm crying right now. Wait till this hurts. Hold on, that hurts.
You didn't know Descendants 4 was going to bring so much joy into your life.
Josh says we need to.
He only has to turn a couple more groomsmen and you're outvoted.
But I'll just get new groomsmen then. Oh, you want to pick me?
We should watch Land Before Time.
John, I could be on your side. Actually, you want to talk about best quotes of the season? That is probably my favorite one, where John just throws it all on the line to get someone else into the Church of Land Before Time.
Making a deal with the devil.
Okay, so look out for weirdos. I want to thank everybody for listening with us another year. I want to thank you guys
Beethoven for blessing this podcast.
Thank you, Beethoven, for blessing this union. Most of our listens come from here in Canada. About 1 out of 10 are from people in the States. 1% of our listeners are in Great Britain. And the rest of the countries of the world make up 1%. Yeah, it's been a good ride. It's been fun. And obviously we weren't doing it to try and find people to listen to our voices. We were just doing it to have a good time. And
yeah, if we were doing this to get famous, we were doing a very bad job.
Yeah. But it's been good. I love you guys lots, and I love spending time with you and chatting with you, and this has been a fun outlet for that. So thanks, guys.
Mm-hmm.
I guess some poor baguette or something, hey?
Praise Beethoven.
Bye!
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I was waiting for you to say.